today's episode of the Balancing Hormones Naturally podcast, where we offer actions and steps you can take today to start supporting and balancing your hormones. This is your podcast host, Leah Brueggemann. I am honored and excited to be your guide on your way to better understanding your hormone health and how it affects your everyday life. Did you know that you have 4 phases of your cycle? Yes, we are jumping right in, you guys. All of the time when I talk to ladies, I always, when they are telling me about their period issues or whatever, I'll be like, that's great. Do you track your cycle? And they always go, yeah. I know exactly when my period's going to show up. Or it's late because, the app told me that it was supposed to start on Tuesday and it's now Friday. And I don't blame you because I used to be exactly that way. But an app cannot tell you when your period's going to start. It can't tell you when you're going to ovulate because an app is just following an algorithm. It is literally taking the data or data, however you want to say that. How do you say that? And putting it into an algorithm. So if you tell them when your last period was, they're going to go, oh, okay, typically your periods are 30 days apart. Okay, your next period is going to be 30 days from now, right? See what I did there? But in reality, you want to be tracking your cycle and understanding the data or data. Okay, we're just going to pick one. We're going to say data. I'm so sorry if that's wrong. And you want to be able to understand it. You want to have that power. You want to have that understanding, right? So let's go over the 4 phases of your cycle so that you can begin to understand your body. Okay, I'm so excited for this, you guys. So the start of your cycle, day 1, when it all begins, is the first day of your period. Okay, so it's not after your period ends, it's literally the first day of your period. That is day 1 of your cycle, okay? So we call it period. Another word for it would be menses or menstruation, right? Okay, so typically that can last anywhere from 3 to 7 days, all right? Now, what I'm talking about is a quote unquote typical cycle, right? So yours may differ a little bit and that's okay. We'll go over that, okay? But first we have to kind of get a standing, right? Okay, so menses ends, 3 to 7 days. Great, we're cool. So then we head into what is called your follicular phase. Now this one, it's one of my favorite phases, but this is when the follicle is getting ready to drop an egg, right? Follicular phase kind of makes sense. Follicle. See what I did there? Okay. So this phase, the length of it is really kind of what depends. This is the phase that really is what it. Oh my goodness, I can't even talk, you guys. This is the phase on which the length of your cycle depends. There we go. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. So some people have shorter follicular phases and some people have a little bit longer follicular phase. It really doesn't matter, right? That myth that you always ovulate on day 14 is just that. It's a myth, okay? So we have your follicular phase. You're getting ready to drop the egg. You're going to start creating cervical mucus, right? And this is what is going to carry the sperm to the egg because, your body, even if you aren't trying to get pregnant, your body is always trying to get pregnant. So, all right. So our follicular phase can be, however long it is. For some people, it can be 7 days. For some people, it can be 10 days. For some people, it can be 15 days, right? Then you ovulate. Your follicle releases the egg. Your estrogen was rising. Your body has an LH, luteinizing hormone surge, which triggers that follicle to release the egg, and you ovulate. Dun, 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 dun. I have to give that sound effects because this is the most important part of your cycle. Ovulation, right? So, this is so cool. Your follicle released the egg, right? Now that follicle forms what's called the corpus luteum. Isn't that amazing? Like it literally forms it right then and there. And this is what produces your progesterone, you guys. This is why ovulation is so important, because ovulation is what gives you progesterone, okay? So, after you ovulate, and you get that wonderful surge of progesterone, you head into what is called your luteal phase, right? Now, this may not be everybody's favorite phase depending on how balanced your hormones are, but your luteal phase should be at least 12 days, right? So 12 to 16 days is pretty normal, okay? The reason why I say that is if your luteal phase is less than 12 days, it can be called an insufficient luteal phase. Okay, that's a little dramatic, but basically when your luteal phase is too short, it's letting you know that you don't have enough progesterone. A short luteal phase also, for a lot of people, sadly can be a cause of miscarriage. So that's why it's really, really important to make sure that it is 12 days. Whether you are trying to get pregnant or not, you want it to be a minimum of 12 days, because that is letting you know that your reproductive health is on point and doing well, which is really, really important whether or not you are trying to get pregnant, okay? So, literally, that's the breakdown of your cycle. You have 4 phases. You have menses, you have follicular, you have your ovulatory, and you have your luteal. So, remember how I said your ovulation was the main event of your cycle? Why did I say that? Because typically, don't you think that your period is the main event of your cycle? I know. I used to think that too, and I used to always wonder, where's my period? My period is so late. Yeah, my period was not late. In reality, my ovulation was late. And when I started to track my cycle and understand that, I learned, right? You know, we're all in a space of learning. So if you just learned that today, it's okay. So when you ovulate and you have that corpus luteum, which forms the progesterone, that is what's going to cause your period later on. I know, pretty impressive, right? So when you have that rise of progesterone from ovulation, when that progesterone drops, that is what signals your period to start. You cannot have a period without ovulation. I know a lot of you back there are like, Leah, but how come I have a period when I'm on birth control? And Leah is going to tell you that you are not. I know, you can pick your jaw off the ground now. That is what's called a pill bleed. It's not a real period. Birth control shuts down the communication from your brain to your ovaries. So you are not having an ovulation. You are not having a period. You're having a pharmaceutical pill bleed. Okay? Now, we will not get on this rant right now, but they literally just do that. There's really no scientific reason why you need to have that on the pill, but it is done because, if you're having a regular bleed every 28 to 30 days, you automatically assume everything is okay, right? Yeah, so frustrating. We'll save that rant for another day. You can also sometimes have what is called a withdrawal bleed. And that will be, you can have that if you are not ovulating. Literally, sometimes your uterus is like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. And you'll have a little bit of a withdrawal bleed. I have had clients that have had those before. And so that's why it's really, really important to track for ovulation. Because if you're having withdrawal bleeds, you're probably going to be having other symptoms as well. You're probably going to have a lot of symptoms of low progesterone because you aren't ovulating. And so therefore, you're not getting that rush of amazing progesterone from the ovulation. So I hope that you learned a little bit about your cycle today. We are going to cover how to track your cycle in the next episode, and I would love to have any questions that you guys have about your menstrual cycle. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Balancing Hormones Naturally. If you found this helpful, I would love for you to share it with a friend and post it on your stories and tag Balancing Hormones Naturally podcast so we can get this message out. You can find me on Instagram at Leah_BRUEG, and I would absolutely love to hear from you.